The arrangement was that the young disciples, the boys who later became the monks of the order here, they would look after Sri Ramakrishna, nurse him, and the expenses would be paid by the householder devotees, the rent and the money for the food and medicines, everything, doctor. And after some time, some of the householder devotees, they accused the boys of overspending. So they looked at the accounts book and they said, you are spending extravagantly and this is, you should be more careful. And they were not people to take it lying down, so a quarrel developed between the two groups. Girish Ghosh watched it quietly. He got up, typical Girish Ghosh. He snatched the account book, set it on fire, and tossed it aside. And he said, from now on, whatever is money is required, I will give it. How will you give all this money? He said, if required, I will sell my house. But I will serve Sri Ramakrishna with every bit of my money, my property. Of course, everybody gathered around and he didn't have to do that. But that was Girish Ghosh. Advaitananda, at that time, Buddha Gopal Maharaj, he was a monk. He was actually the one disciple of Sri Ramakrishna who was older than Sri Ramakrishna. Now, he wanted to do a typically Hindu pious thing. Advaitananda wanted to give this to the monks there. He got these clothes and he dipped them in the dye and he wanted to give it to monks. He said to Sri Ramakrishna, this is what I want to do. Sri Ramakrishna said, look at these young boys. Where will you find better monks than, Narain and Rakhal and others? Give it to them. That's the highest merit. So he decided to do that. He made 12 sets of rosaries and cloth, and Sri Ramakrishna himself distributed it to 11 of the young people who were present at that time. And the 12th one, he said, set it aside and give it to Girish, which is a tremendous thing. Of all the devotees who were there, he selected Girish. And Girish, who's it haunted him that he couldn't be a monk. And Sri Ramakrishna said, give it to Girish. And we say we are a monastic order descended from Sri Ramakrishna in that sense because he gave the ochre robe to our founders, Vivekananda and others. But equally, he gave the ochre robe to Girish also. Later, it was given to Girish when he came to visit, and very reverentially, he touched it to his head. Even when Sri Ramakrishna passed away, Girish Ghosh, he wouldn't visit too much because he didn't like to see Sri Ramakrishna ill. And even when Sri Ramakrishna passed away, he didn't believe that he had passed away. He said it's just the divine play of the master. He's always there. He cannot die. He's immortal. He had asked, once Sri Ramakrishna had scolded him a little. He said in Bengali, Tomar mone baak ache. There's crookedness in your heart. And Girish Ghosh writes, I knew that. It's no news to me. My heart is full of crookedness. But then he says to Sri Ramakrishna, how will it go? How can I get rid of it? Sri Ramakrishna said, look, a bowl in which garlic has been kept, it retains the smell no matter how much you wash it. Then Girish Ghosh understood what was meant. And he said, how will the smell go? Will it never go? Sri Ramakrishna says, yes, it can go. If you burn it in fire, it goes away. The smell goes away. And Girish Ghosh was literally burnt in the fire after that. Literally in the sense of suffering, the worldly suffering. He had lost his wife when he was quite young. He had remarried. He lost his second wife. He lost 2 of his daughters. And his youngest son, who was very devoted to the Holy Mother, they all died one after another. And a kind of sorrow raged within him. Notice, in these cases, the sorrow, the worldly suffering, makes them more intensely focused on God. There's a difference between the conventionally religious and the truly spiritual. The more a spiritual person suffers, the more he or she holds on to God. Jananandaji, he was always encouraging him to become a monk. So he told Girish Ghosh, Sri Ramakrishna gave you the ochre robe. He practically made you a monk. Come to the monastery and live with us. And Girish Ghosh, always impulsive. He walks out of his house wearing only one cloth, and he goes straight to the monastery and says, I will not go back to the house anymore, I am a monk now. But then the brothers had to convince him that, Sri Ramakrishna wanted you to stay in the world and to do the theater and things like that. And so again he goes back. But it haunted him throughout his life. He went and told the Holy Mother. He loved going to Jairambati. We are singing that song, Jairambati Mati Chandana Shaman, the soil of Jairambati, place where Holy Mother was born, is as pure as the sandalwood. So Girish Ghosh would go there and loved staying with in the company of the Holy Mother. The devotion he had for Sri Ramakrishna, he had the same for the Holy Mother. That shows it was not a personal thing. It's not that he was just attracted to the personality or the charisma of Sri Ramakrishna. He had the equal devotion to the Holy Mother, which shows that he caught hold of an impersonal reality beyond the persons, an unchanging reality. With the Holy Mother, he had a deeper relationship. He writes that when I was a young boy, I had a terrible illness and people despaired of my survival. And in my delirium, I saw this divine feminine figure who came and blessed me and my fever left me. And when I saw the Holy Mother for the first time, I recognized it is you, Mother. You've been watching over me all my life. And the Holy Mother was so gracious to Girish. The little things, in the little village there, a backward village in those times, and somebody as a big man like Girish, who's a famous dramatist and a famous person from Calcutta, is visiting. Every day he would find something strange. His bed sheet would be new and washed and fresh. So how is this happening? When he was not there, the Holy Mother would take it away and wash it herself and put it back on his bed. So like that, she would take care of him. He asked her that I want to become a monk. And the Holy Mother finally persuaded him that you don't have to become a monk. Keep on doing what you are doing. And she herself went to see some of his plays. So that sort of assuaged him. He had gone to Sri Ramakrishna. He had these impulses. He and two of his friends, tipsy, drunk, in the dead of the night, midnight, they turned up at Dakshineshwar. Suddenly he thought, I must see Sri Ramakrishna. Midnight, two of his friends, three of them drunk, they stumbled into Sri Ramakrishna's room where everybody else in the temple is sleeping. And wonder of wonders, Sri Ramakrishna is there as if expecting them. As Girish stumbles into his room, Sri Ramakrishna advances, he says, takes hold of both my arms, both my hands, and bursts into song and dances. And Girish Ghosh thinks, here I am, my family look upon me with contempt. And this man, this person considered the holiest of persons, he loves me so much. Truly the savior of the fallen, Patita Pavan. This is Patita Pavan. He would curse Sri Ramakrishna using abusive words to the horror of the devotees around. And Sri Ramakrishna would not mind. Somebody said to Sri Ramakrishna, the poison that you have given him, that is what he is serving you with. Sri Ramakrishna passed away. Girish continued his career. If you see the descriptions, he was truly an extraordinary person. He would compose creativity. Somebody said to him, the conversations of the witches in Macbeth, that can't be translated properly into Bengali. And immediately sat down and did it. And he translated Macbeth into Bengali. And it was stage 2. Sister Devamata, who was Laura Glenn, who went from actually New York here. What's the place where they have the ashram? The Anand ashram? Cossipore. So she went from there and she visited different places in India and she saw Girish Ghosh at close quarters. He says this great Bengali dramatist. He would dictate to 3 secretaries at once. He was so creative, 3 different plays, and he would dictate. And the secretaries could not keep up. They did not have time to use they had quills in those days. There was no time to dip the quill in the ink and then write because he would speak so fast. So they had to use pencils. And 3 of them at a time, because 3 plays were going on. And he would walk back and forth and dictate. I have read in Napoleon's life that he had the power to do this. Multiple secretaries taking down letters and notes and his orders. So once, in one night, he composed 26 songs for a play. Another play, one of his famous plays, she records it was composed in 28 hours continuous labor. He worked at a stretch for 28 hours and completed that play. Prodigious energy. He would work in his office in a day job throughout the day. In the evening, he would go to the theater, stage the plays, act in them himself, And he would be back at home by 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock in the night, day after day, month after month, year after year. And be back to his job early in the morning next day. Once Girish Ghosh loved Vivekananda. Vivekananda was much younger than Girish Ghosh. Once when Vivekananda was back from the West, he was teaching his disciples, I think it was in Belur Math, Girish Ghosh comes to visit. And so Vivekananda is giving a talk on the Rig Veda, the most ancient of the Vedas. And when Girish Ghosh walks in, Vivekananda sort of teasingly says, "You are not interested in philosophy, are you? You're just sentimental. Love God, worship God, that's all that you are interested in." And Girish Ghosh says, "In this life, by the grace of Sri Ramakrishna, I shall cross over the ocean of samsara. My salutations to the Veda." And he picks up the Veda and he salutes it saying, "I bow down to Sri Ramakrishna in the form of the Rig Veda." And then he turns to Swami Vivekananda. And he says, "Swami, you have studied so much, so many books, but look at our country." And he draws a heart-wrenching picture of the miseries of people in India, the poverty, the illiteracy, the superstition, the hunger, the sorrow of the masses, of women particularly. And as he goes on speaking, he's doing it on purpose. Swami Vivekananda started weeping. His tears rolled down his cheeks, and he quickly rushed out of the room to retire to his own room. And then Girish Ghosh turns to the Vivekananda's disciples who are sitting around. "You see, this is why I love your Vivekananda. Not because of his great knowledge and his, the way he teaches, because of his great heart." Did you see a description of the sorrows of people? Immediately he melts in tears. Overcoming our passions and desires. This is what Girish Ghosh showed to the nth degree. Overcoming our passions and desires is essential in spiritual life. The struggle with greed and anger and lust and envy, this is what blocks us. Otherwise, God realization is very easy actually. What is a saint? We are all one with God. The saint is one with God, but so are you and so am I. But the difference is, a veil is over our eyes. The veil of our own greed and lust and anger and envy, all the negativities. Now one way is the way of the hero, the yogi, the saint, is to fight with this. Why doesn't God remove it? I found in one place that God wants you to have the joy of struggling with it and overcoming it in this very life itself. That's true. If you take refuge in the Divine Mother, if you take refuge in Sri Ramakrishna, and pray with a sincere heart, "O Lord, remove these dosha, defects, from my heart. Let me have a pure mind, let me see thee, feel thy presence." The Lord actually does it. This is the second path. It's not the lifelong great struggle of the yogi. That has to be done, we must try it. But this is the path of surrender to God. In the beginning of Ram Nam, there is Kamadi dosha rahitam kurumanasam cha. "O Lord, please cleanse my heart of the dosha, the defects of lust," and adi means etc. That means anger and greed and jealousy and envy. Cleanse my heart of that. With the cleansed mirror, Swami Vivekananda says the only thing that we can do is polish the mirror. If you cannot polish it, let the Lord polish it for you. I find the lesson is, one of the first things that Sri Ramakrishna told him, if you want peace, not in the deepest cave of the highest mountain, but in faith. That's a great secret which we can all take advantage of. Bishash, in faith. If you start with faith, hold on with faith like Girish, with a fraction of his faith, it will start working miracles in our lives.